Yuri's food stall stood at the edge of a quiet, unassuming street. The smell of her cooking wafted through the air, drawing people in like moths to a flame. No one knew where she came from or how long she had been there. To the townsfolk, Yuri was an enigma, an ageless woman with piercing eyes and a quiet smile, whose dishes seemed to cast a spell on anyone who took a bite. Her food didn't just satisfy hunger, it awakened something deep within. People swore they could taste forgotten memories, childhood dreams, or the comfort of a distant home. Her little cart quickly gained a following, and soon the entire city spoke of her as if she were a legend. But Yuri's cooking wasn't just about spices or recipes. Every dish she prepared carried a piece of her, a secret ingredient she guarded with her life. Each morning before the sun rose, Yuri began her day with a peculiar ritual. She would draw a hot bath, steam filling the air as she carefully added a handful of herbs to the water. Closing her eyes, she would murmur ancient words, a chant passed down through her family. As she bathed, the water absorbed the essence of her body, her spirit, and her intentions. When she stepped out, she collected the water in a large copper pot. This water was sacred. It became the heart of every dish she cooked, infusing her food with an indescribable magic that kept people coming back. As the weeks passed, Yuri's food cart grew so popular that lines began to form before she even opened. Her cooking was irresistible, and soon the quiet street where her cart stood became the busiest spot in the city. It wasn't just the food that drew people, it was the way her dishes made them feel. A bowl of her stew could soothe a grieving heart, while her rice dishes seemed to spark joy and laughter among strangers who ate together. Some claimed her dumplings brought them clarity, solving problems they had been wrestling with for years. Yuri's name spread far and wide, and the crowd outside her cart grew each day. Encouraged by her success, Yuri decided to expand. She found a modest corner building, painted it a warm shade of red, and transformed it into a cozy restaurant. She named it the Golden Spoon, a nod to the golden spoon she always kept around her neck. With her new space, she could serve more people than ever before. Despite the move, Yuri's morning ritual remained unchanged. Before her staff arrived and the first customer walked through the door, she would lock herself in the kitchen, draw a bath, and perform her sacred ritual. The water, brimming with her essence, was poured into her pots, and soon the restaurant filled with the magical aroma of her cooking. The crowds only grew larger. Lines wrapped around the block as people from neighboring towns came to taste her food. Yuri became a household name, her restaurant a symbol of connection, comfort, and mystery. One fateful morning, Yuri woke up later than usual. The sun was already high, and the sounds of the city filtered into her home. She jumped out of bed, panicked as her staff called her to say the line outside was growing impatient. In her haste to open the restaurant, Yuri skipped her bath ritual for the first time in years. "It's just one day," she told herself, tying her apron. "The food will still be good." She threw herself into the kitchen, chopping vegetables and seasoning meats with the same care she always did. Yet as the dishes simmered on the stove, something felt off. The aromas lacked their usual intensity, but Yuri brushed the feeling aside. The restaurant doors opened and customers poured in, eager for their first bites. Yuri watched nervously from the kitchen as plates were served. The hum of anticipation quickly turned into murmurs of confusion. "Is this the same dish?" one customer asked, frowning at their bowl. "Something's missing," another said, pushing their plate aside. The complaints grew louder. Customers began to leave their tables, disappointed and confused. Yuri, An elderly regular said with a sad shake of his head, "Your food isn't the same." What happened? Yuri was speechless. The once bustling restaurant was now quiet, plates abandoned on tables. By the end of the day, every customer had left, and no one lingered to ask for seconds. Yuri sat alone in her empty kitchen, staring at the golden spoon around her neck. She replayed the day's events over and over in her mind, trying to understand what had gone wrong. Her recipes were the same, her technique unchanged. So why had her food failed to please? As her eyes wandered around the kitchen, they landed on the copper pot she used to collect her bathwater. It sat in the corner, untouched. The realization hit her like a thunderbolt. She had forgotten her ritual. Her bathwater wasn't just a quirky tradition. It was the soul of her cooking, the magic that infused her dishes with their extraordinary flavor. By skipping the ritual, she had unknowingly removed the most important ingredient from her food. Despair washed over her. How could she have been so careless? She resolved to never skip the ritual again. The next morning, Yuri returned to her routine. She drew her bath, added the herbs, and whispered her incantations. The familiar warmth of the ritual calmed her nerves, and she felt the magic returning as she collected the water. But when she reopened the restaurant, the line that had once stretched down the block was gone. The customers who came out of loyalty tasted her food again but remained unimpressed. "It's not the same," one said apologetically. "The magic is gone," another whispered before leaving. Day after day, Yuri tried to win her customers back, but the damage had been done. Her once packed restaurant now stood empty, its tables gathering dust. One quiet evening, Yuri stood in her empty restaurant, staring at the flickering candles on the tables. She had poured her heart and soul into her cooking, but the magic that once enchanted her food seemed to have left her. With a heavy heart, Yuri decided to close the golden spoon. She packed her belongings and locked the doors for the last time, her golden spoon clutched tightly in her hand. Some say Yuri disappeared into the mountains, searching for a way to reclaim her lost magic. Others whisper that she still cooks in secret, her dishes reserved for those who truly need them. For those who once tasted her food, the memory lingers like a distant dream, a flavor so rich and comforting that nothing else could ever compare. And in the quiet corners of the city, people still tell the story of Yuri, the mysterious chef whose cooking could touch the soul, if only for a fleeting moment.